core ones that we are discussing today, and why do we focus on these as the beginning of our cybersecurity awareness map. Of course, with my experience, we have been involved in several incident responses across the board, and we know that most of the attacks come through this. And today I'm going to be able to explain this, and I hope that at the end of the day, all the participants here will be able to, first of all, understand how, why, and then lastly, how to protect themselves in case they encounter some of these. We'll have some practical examples at the end to show you a live demo of how some of these vectors or threats can come to any of us. Okay. So the digital hand, with experience and with the current notion of technology today, we have gone through years where we've implemented different cybersecurity initiatives or technologies that had in our systems. But beyond that, we now understand that it's no longer, the hackers no longer have to target systems anymore. They have to target the human, you as a person, because that's the weakest link that we cannot control. Those who are in IT here today understand that I can do so many things, have maybe proper governance structures, policies, antiviruses, all those things, firewalls, maybe zero-day vulnerability assessments, all those things. But however, without the human factor, that's the weakest thing that we currently face. And from experience, we've seen that most of the attackers or hackers target this particular weakness, because the issue is, whereas we are all ICT savvy, maybe cybersecurity savvy, we also work with people who may not be. And in most cases, because of the lack of awareness, they all culprit to these particular two vectors. So I'm just going to pose a question. I don't need responses today, but I know it to be true. For instance, if I asked how many of you have received a suspicious text about a package delivery or an email from, in quote in quotes, a boss, or what we'd call something that is too good to be true recently. I personally have received that, and it will be the practical example that I'll bring out today as I explain this particular concept. So what is the bigger picture? Phishing and social engineering are not just basically ICT problems, from what I just explained. These are mainly human problems, and they are basically the number one cause of security breaches across the globe. The statistics are there. I may not have had time to show you, but statistics shows it that these are the commonest ones. So the objective today is that by the end of this session, you will be able to spot these attacks and know exactly how to react in case you or anyone within your workplaces is faced with such a scenario, or maybe a phishing email in whatever way it comes out, or maybe if you're being social engineered, how can you tell, how can you detect, and what are the mechanisms you can use to deter this kind of attack? My belief is that most of the people here today have gone through some sort of cybersecurity awareness training, and you fully understand the concept of phishing and social engineering. So I may not go into so much details on the technicalities, the types, but we can respond to some of the questions at the end in case you fully want to understand what this is. But I want to focus more on what, in my experience in today's world, is the game changer, and why these ones really remain the most vicious, maybe the most common ones across the globe. So in simple terms, social engineering can be described as the art of manipulating people to give confidential information or perform an action. Just picture it like a con artist trick, or maybe in Uganda, I can use Emufere, but this time the Emufere is coming to you, not physically, but they're coming to you in a digital format. So it's a con artist trick, but it's a digital con artist, okay? On the other hand, phishing is a type of social engineering that typically uses different forms, from emails to text or to messages, to basically pick information from you. Now, the different concepts of phishing, for instance, in terms of emails, these are the commonest ones that you can see. An example is displayed on the screen, as you can see, where you receive such an email. I'll be explaining to you how to detect and categorize this particular email as a phish. But they can also come through text. This is a concept we call smishing, the ones that come through the SMSs and then or messaging, and they can also come through voice or maybe calls. That's a concept we call phishing. So social engineering is the strategy, whereas phishing is the common tactic. So there are so many other forms of social engineering that you can read about, but there are a number of those. But the commonest one that we're discussing today is the phishing as a tactic. So on your right, on the right of the screen, you can see a sample of an what I would call a phishing email. And I will explain some of the red flags that basically make this an obvious phishing email. One is there's a lot of generic greeting in this one. For instance, you have the dear customer. Essentially, if this is coming from a bank that basically, in our understanding, should know the client that they are talking to, this should cross-reference the name. Like you could talk about instead of referring to a customer, present it as if use the name of the customer. So this is evidence that this person does not necessarily know who they're actually communicating to. So it could be a broad message that is sent out to multiple people. The other alert would be the sender's address. For instance, here we have an address that does not typically look like an official bank email. The dashes, the verify, the different, whereas there's the word bank, but it does not really look like a bank email. And there's also a sense of urgency. If you can see the message is compelling someone to take some sort of action, and it's designed to create some sort of panic. These are some of the classic examples of how you can tell. Then most of them also come with links. Here we have a link that is basically the link they're asking you to click the link to verify your account, and anything that has a link is asking you to take some sort of action. First of all, these links come in short, and in most cases, I'll show you how to detect. Some of them will look real. You see your bank, your particular bank, a link that is really categorized to, for instance, that is really related to your bank, but what is hidden behind that particular link is what you need to see it. Then there's also a request for login details. This is also a classic common characteristics about these phishing emails. They're asking you to basically log in. That means you're going to be able to provide your credentials. And then the other trick, though it's a bit old, some of these emails are very consistent with some sort of spelling errors or grammatical errors. They're not consistent. Or maybe you could find the signature is not aligned to what the name of the signature is different from the person signing. So this is basically an example of a proper phishing email. And I told you this can come in so many ways. It could be on a call, it could be on an SMS, but as long as it meets some of the characters I've described, I'm going to give you some of the other things, and this would explain why we fall victim of such emails. So how easily is it? I've shown you a typical email of what would appear to be a phishing email, and explained the different characteristics, the urgency, etc. So these are some of the things that psychologically, when you look at such an email, you're triggered to make an action because of some of these areas. First of all, the emails come, why it actually works, there is a sense of urgency. Words like your account will be locked in 24 hours causes you to panic, so that you would want to take it causes you to panic, and then you want to take some sort of action immediately. Things to do with curiosity. For instance, if a message came in and they're telling you, have you seen this video of you? Obviously, you're going to feel like, I think I need to see exactly what this person is talking about me. So you end up clicking such a link. Then there's greed or maybe excitement, things that are too good to be true. Like you won a prize. Right now, I think the iPhone, the iPhone 17 is out. So you receive an email that is exciting you to maybe you can buy the iPhone 17 at 500,000 or 300,000 Ghana shillings. Obviously, someone is going to excited. Most of these also come with some sort of authority. So they're in a way, if it's a work related email, it's usually coming from someone above you or above you, someone who's not necessarily supposed to be communicating directly with you, maybe at a CEO level, and they are asking you to take some sort of action immediately for you to be able to because they know that the quickest thing to this to basically sabotaging the attacker is if you take time to think through the action. So the more you're triggered into thinking this thing is urgent, it's coming from someone above me, it's coming from the CEO, or I'm trying to help someone, the quicker for you to actually take action without thinking before you do this act. Then there's also a characteristic of familiarity and trust. Here, the email basically looks like it's coming from someone that you know, or someone that you have, someone that you work with. All the details of the email will look like it's actually coming from a right source. And I'm going to show you how to tell, even if the email address looks legitimate, how do you tell that these are, besides all these other different characteristics, what do you do in this case? So these are some of the different ways we are conned. And in most cases, when they send out such emails, statistics has it that maybe 75% of victims. So out of maybe, let me say, 1 million emails. Of course, we know now with AI and these chatbots, someone doesn't have to sit and generate these emails. They can use AI, they can use chatbots to generate 1,000 emails. Now, out of 1,000 emails, at least 75% of the recipients fall victim. Only 25% might have, first of all, systems that can block these particular emails, or might be able to detect the email through such things. And of course, if they're actually vigilant, they can use these tactics to be able to tell that, okay, this is something that is suspicious. It could be a phishing email. So let me take some action before I actually let me be curious. Let me first maybe consult, look for the sender, find out did it really come from you, or maybe if you have a CEO sending you a message and they're not supposed to be sending, maybe they have to go through your manager. Like the protocols that have been jumped. These are all classic red flags that we can actually use. So when you receive such emails, look out for things like this, and this basically explains why we all easily fall victims, no matter who you are. Even if you're, in my example, at the end of this, towards the end of this presentation, you'll see that even with a cybersecurity maybe expert or savvy person, they're able to exploit you because they've done some social engineering, they've gotten some details, they know you're currently involved in a particular project. So you're maybe passionate about it. Most of these emails come around the time when, for instance, if they're targeting your bank accounts, they'll target maybe end of the month when you're supposed to be receiving salary, and then you receive an email from like an HR asking you to basically punch in your details or you won't be able to get salary. So they know when to trigger it. Now, if I am going through something and I need money, it doesn't matter what kind of skill I have. I'll maybe rush into panicking because I'm expecting this money like tomorrow. So if I don't click on that link, I'll be paid in the next 2 months. So those are some of that's why it's a game changer. That's why they are winning. And of course there's been a lot of evolution around how these phishing emails now come in. So like I'd said, I'm aware that some of you have had experiences. You've been taught on how to protect yourselves from phishing email, how to identify them. But of course, the reason why these ones keep evolving is because the tricks that maybe the ways we use to identify them, even the ways I've described, they are things that we need to take an extra step in being able to protect ourselves further, because even the hackers have sort of like sophisticated their games. So case in point is, for instance, the QR codes that we see at the restaurant. Now, in a QR code, you cannot see anything I defined. You can't see a panic because there's no message. You cannot see grammatic errors. You cannot see links in the QR code. It's just a QR code. And what hackers can do is they can find a QR code. Maybe it's a QR code for a Wi-Fi network. Maybe it's a QR code for a restaurant. Maybe it's a QR code for a restaurant menu, just a menu for a restaurant. So with this, they can embed a different QR code on top of that one. And when you scan, you're actually going into a different system. Or once you scan and click, some sort of malware is immediately installed on your phone. And remember, with this digitization, it's not about these malwares don't just run on computers; they actually also run on our physical devices and the phone. So you can scan a QR code. It's something as simple as that. So nothing in the previous slides that I talked about in terms of spelling, grammatic issues, in terms of links, in terms of sense of urgency, can be detected with a QR code. Then, of course, AI has been the game changer. That's artificial intelligence, and it's the biggest shift. You can remember how I told you about the issue of grammatic errors. With AI, and those who have used it, you can actually craft it can craft an email without any grammatic errors. Because remember, it's AI at the end of the day. It has built to learn that the word dear is not spelled with a D-I-Y-A or something like that. It knows that dear is D-E-A-R. So it has learned over time. So AI doesn't make common grammatic mistakes. So if someone is using AI to generate some of these fake messages or maybe phishing emails, you won't be able to detect any bad grammar in such a message. Then we also have the concept of deepfakes. And deepfakes, I think, have generally grown. They've been there for some time, but they're getting more and more sophisticated. Deepfakes are basically where you have an AI-generated real version of either a video, a picture, a voice that basically looks like the real version of what it's supposed to look like, but essentially it's a fake one. There's a classic example recently that's around. You can see the extract I've done from CNN, where a finance worker was enticed, was social engineered to pay $25 million after what we call a fake video call with their chief executive officer. This particular call, when you read about it, the link is there. You can go to just do maybe a deep fake case in Hong Kong. You'll get the details of it. But in this particular call, the finance worker was actually on a proper Zoom call, which was scheduled, came through an email, and it had their supervisors, their bosses, like someone at the board level, basically instructing them to make a certain payment. And they went through with it, knowing that on the other end, I think here on this particular webinar, you should be able to see my video. But imagine me appearing the way I'm appearing, but in actual sense, it's actually a deep fake. It's not actually the real me, but speaking with the same voice, same image. AI is able to depict basically how you speak. So this finance or maybe accountant was made to think that they're actually having a proper call that was scheduled through proper email channels, and they had a video call, probably Zoom or whatever platform they're using. And in that call, the actionable output was to make a payment of $25 million to a certain account. Now, of course, the question would be, how did this happen? Why is it that at that particular point? Obviously, when it comes to social engineering and the different types that you can read about, there's what we call an APT, which is an advanced penetration threat, where someone takes their time to fully understand your environment when you make payments. So this could be, the hackers could have, first of all, gotten into their email system, understood what each one's role is, understood who makes the payments. Then during the exchange of some sort of maybe transaction or deal, at the point when the payment was supposed to be made, then the hackers now took over the account of maybe the chief finance officer, and then initiated different links of different meetings with this particular financial worker and scheduled a meeting where a decision was made and money was paid out to a wrong account. This meeting even had people who were on the other on the contractor side. So to this particular finance person, everything looked extremely real. They would ask a question, and the person that you expect to be responding did respond. So with this level of sophistication, we need to have we need to have some sort of I could call it advanced skill, but maybe something more than everything that we've been doing, because these threats are actually evolving, and the way we interact with them is evolving as well. So there's also a concept called hyper personalization. Now this would be more like impersonation, but this time it's hyper, because what they're going to do with AI is they're going to get your profile with everything that you do, whether your job, your title, the people you're connected to. They'll have a profile that basically they gimmick the exact profile and start interacting with people on your behalf. So the AI is able to do these things now. It's very hard to detect some of these things. The best thing to do, and of course I'm going to tell you, for me, they're just simple 1, 2, 3 things that we can do. There are so many tips I can give you, maybe 10 or 20 tips, but if you master the defense strategy of you becoming your own, the concept is called your own human firewall, you would be able to achieve the greatest protection you can offer to yourself as well as your organization. So these old rules, what I talked about before, are basically dead. And of course, as the attackers get more sophisticated in how they basically they manipulate their victims, we also need to have an upper notch. And for me, it's just 3 basic examples that I can give you, or technical takeaways that you can actually implement. So if you can master these 3 strategies as an individual, there are quite a number of things that you can do. I will not limit your exposure. You can do your research, but for me, and with my experience, if you can master these particular ones, you should be able to basically limit the possibility of being fully manipulated by a hacker, or maybe by a hacker, or maybe through social engineering, or maybe through phishing emails. So one habit, if you can become a detective at links that come through emails, one of the things that you can do in this case is, besides the things I've told you, I'm now going to get a bit technical, because there's some emails that can come like an email that is properly generated. I'm going to show you how basically the hackers have gotten so good at what they do. Remember, they come to you with social engineering. They come to you knowing exactly what the best time is to attack and what exactly you're actually involved in. So if you will allow me just display a typical email that I received on a personal basis just recently. I'm going to share a different screen. Just give me a minute. Can the host confirm you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is a typical email that I received recently. This is just about 7 days ago. Of course, there's a bunch of different emails that came in. If I could switch, I hope I can switch between different windows. I think, I don't know if, has the screen changed, host?
We are back to yes, the 20%. Now we're on the 20% off.
Okay, so you can see, maybe let me also show another screen. Let me just do a generic Can you see this?
Yes. Right now we're seeing your email.
Yeah, so these are 3 emails that came in around the same time. I think around 3rd October, between 3rd and 4th, 3 emails. All of them appeared to be too good to be true. I'll display one by one. I think this was the first one. This one was asking me to, of course, it comes with my name. That means these people clearly know who I am, and they're offering me a 20% discount. There's no grammatic error to this particular email. Obviously, I had done some searching across maybe the browsers, and let me open a different window so that you can, yeah. Has the window changed, Geraldine?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I've done some searching. So they were probably through these cookies and these things that these websites speak from us. Someone, maybe the hackers were able to tell that I was interested in traveling to the UAE. So I received this email, and there's a link for me to get a 20% discount. And then you can see there's a bit of uh, uh, motive to make sure I don't miss this limited opportunity. Everything seems okay because this is UAE visa services. There's nothing wrong with this particular email. But how was I able to tell that, of course, that this is a phishing kind of email? First of all, one, the knowledge I have that the UAE doesn't really offer discounts on visas, but as well, this is not the kind of portal that they use, but anyone could actually fall victim because it's a UAE visa. The website is actually correct, but they are asking when I come and hover. I told you how you can become a URL detective. When I hover around this particular link, I can see down here, if you're able to see, it's taking me to something different. There are a bunch of codes and a website that with the URL cl.s13.ext.net. Now, clearly, this is not what this wouldn't be a payment thing. I would expect it to get me to a payment portal that still has a domain from the UAE government or visa service. The other way that you can tell, besides all these things, technically, hackers have gotten so smart. So as you can see, whereas the UAE visa.ae actually exists as a government website, maybe a UAE website, it's not actually the one that's actually sending me this particular email. So if you go into the details of the email, whereas the email appears to be from UAE visa services, as you can see here, they send, if I just drop down this, Google is able to tell you that this particular email was actually mailed by an email called bounce.s13.exacttarget.com. But it was signed by this particular email. So there are services that hackers can use to send emails that basically will appear legitimate, but if you go into details. So one trick I want you to go with is always hover around the different links to see exactly where it's taking you, and then go into more details, especially if it's the kind of email that's asking you to take some sort of action. Don't just click on the link. Hover around the link and then go into details and see exactly what is the source coming from. And then if you can actually verify it through probably replies and see if you're getting a response. Now, these ones, I tested even a reply, but I wasn't getting a response because remember, I was replying to the actual email that they used to info@email. But even this info@email doesn't really make sense. So this is what they do. And you need to go an extra mile beyond what I've told you to be able to tell that this is a classic phishing email. And of course, most of them, for instance, of course, there was a 20%, and I think at some point they made it a 50% discount, and there's a trigger to basically come and take action within a very short time because they want you to do this very fast before you actually be able to look through to notice that there are discrepancies. It came with my names, as you can see, but different offers. Also, the other thing I noticed is the number that was the hotline was not really a UAE number. It's a +1917. This is particularly I think +1 is the US states. Why is the number from the US actually being the one sending me working as a hotline for a UAE visa service? Okay, so these are some of the level of sophistication that these different hackers, I could say hackers have. This is the level of sophistication they've gone to. So you'll allow me go back to my presentation. Uh, I hope you can see the screen now. The different
Yes.
screen, yeah. So how do you become a human file? Become a detective at URL detection, at detecting URLs. Hover around before you commit to anything. That's what I did in that particular classic example of what appeared to be a legitimate email with my name, and knowing that around that time I was actually interested in travel. This bunch of emails came in at almost the same time, trying to convince me to get a discount and be able to travel to the UAE. The second habit I would empower you to do is to basically think before you take any action. If you have some sort of email that creates some emotional feeling to you, whether it's because there's some panic, there's some fear, there's some sense of curiosity, this particular email has to be verified. Curiosity can come from anywhere. It can come from the source. It can come from the message. It can come from the timing that is actually coming in, the content of the email, what's asking you to do. So if you feel that you have that inner skeptic feeling that you don't trust, so use the trust but verify rule. You can trust it. It could be coming from a legitimate source, maybe someone within your entity, maybe your boss. There are ways you can do. For instance, if you got an email, use another channel. You can use, if you have a WhatsApp group, maybe if you have another messaging platform within your maybe chat group that is official, you can reach out there and find out from the person whether the email they sent you is actually coming from them. Just do the verification. If you feel like this is quite, or verify with another person whether they also received the same email. Then also, lastly, build your own digital moat. A moat would be like your own digital defense in a defense, or maybe a firewall. If you're in the military and you have a barracks, I'm asking you to build your own quarter guard when it comes to your digital experience, or maybe your digital exposure as a person. And how can you do this? If there's anything that you need to do after this webinar, if you have any credentials that you use online, I would empower you to turn on another factor of authentication, whether beyond the complexity of passwords, if you have another factor of authentication, it can also help you. Because what we know is passwords can be cracked, and passwords, besides them being cracked, usually they're exposed, they are saved. You can have a keylogger running on your machine and you do not know, and your passwords are being pushed to some database. Or maybe someone can come and see you enter your password at work, or maybe your child can be playing with your phone and accidentally, some of us do copy and paste of passwords. So they go into the clipboard, they paste it somewhere, but those could be your password. Then of course we also have issues with how we save our passwords. We use our names. They're not so complex. We use our date of birth. We use our children's names. It's all those are different ways that passwords still remain the weakest link. The best thing to do is to add another layer of protection. So in this case, the password would be like a key, and a key can be stolen. But if you add another layer of multi-factor authentication, that means that basically you have the key, but you also have a fingerprint. So even if someone stole your password, there's no way they can be able to get your finger. It's hard for them to have both your password and your fingerprint at the same time. So if it was a scenario of a key and a lock, all they would do in this case is stop at the gate, because they're basically being able to get your key, which is your password, open, but they're not able to actually enter because it needs another level of authentication. So for me, if you can pick on these three, then you should be able to basically have a safe safe, basically you could protect yourselves from these social engineering tactics that they currently use, however sophisticated they can be. If you practice those three different maybe habits, become a detective, pause before you take any action, and then have some secondary layer of protection, you should be good to go. So as we conclude the webinar, before you go into the Q&A, I would like to simply communicate or the same thing that we started with, that cybersecurity is no longer an IT problem, it's a people problem, which means that we as the people are the solutions. So we are the weakest links, but at the same time, we are the weakest link, but at the same time, we're the best line of defense. So let us build a human firewall within our workspaces, within our own personal digital exposure. And with this, we should be able to handle any threats or adversaries that we face at our workplaces and as individuals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johnson, for that very, very insightful webinar session. Let's jump right into the Q&A session. We have some two questions that have come through. One is, what is the indicator or sign that I'm likely to face a ransomware attack? Likely to face a ransomware attack is yet to happen in my network. And then the other question is, kindly repeat how we could verify authenticity of email to avoid hackers.
Okay. Yes, Jordan.
Oh no, have you had both the questions? One
yes,
is
I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have. So I'll start with the question one on how to tell that you're about to be to have a ransomware. I think the question was around how to detect that you're about to face a ransomware attack. Ransomware is a bit you'd have to do a lot of monitoring. They're not things that basically happen immediately. For an organization to face a ransomware attack, there must have been some sort of the hacker must have had some time in your network, because for ransomware attacks, the level of sophistication would require a hacker to get into your network, be able to elevate their privileges into maybe an administrator, or maybe someone who has unrestricted roles over your systems, follow your systems into your backups, and then be able, once they have basically zeroed down the whole network and done some lateral movements across your network, they launch the ransomware attack. So by the time you have the files encrypted, of course, ransomware is about file encryption. By the time you have the files encrypted, this hacker has been in your environment for about maybe, depending on the sort of level of sophistications, maybe 3 to something months. So the best way to detect this is look at your logs. If you detect any anomaly in terms of, for instance, an abnormal login time, maybe increased traffic, maybe someone trying to access something as simple as a wrong password attempt, should trigger you to find out who actually doesn't remember their password. So things like that, because that's how they start. So for you to be able to detect a ransomware, or maybe the possibility that you're about to be to be attacked, or maybe to face a ransomware attack, do continuous log monitoring within what's happening, both on the network side and the system side. You'll be able to tell, because for ransomware, there's quite some time that these kinds of attack take before they actually launch. That's why by the time they launch, you basically have no access to anything. You can't even use your passwords. That means they've taken time to change your passwords. So by the time you in those 3 months, you're able to work, but this person has already elevated themselves. They have an admin account that at the point when they are ready, and now they've gotten all your backups, they launch at midnight, you wake up in the morning and you have no access. So that is the best way. Just keep doing monitoring, and any red flags, there are certain solutions you can installed to automate like security, the SIMs, the event monitoring solutions, which can give you updates or red alerts. You can say, okay, for instance, if it's a bank, I don't expect anyone to log in past 8 p.m. So if there's a login after that time, then you quickly jump on it and find out what's happening. And of course, also list privileges. But these are all different controls you can put in this. But that's the best way that you can detect. Just keep monitoring, and once you see any red flag, act on it. The second question was how to how to detect a phishing email. If you can, let me see if I can quickly reshare the screen and just basically go through one classic example of what. Okay. For the benefit of the person who asked the question, I'll just reshare that point. So you can see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so quick thing to do is look at the email where the information is coming from. If the person does not really know your name, if the generic information, things to do with the password, with grammar are also key things to look out. If there's a link, I also explained that now it's good and sophisticated, so you have to also go into the details of the email and see exactly who's the sender. It's not necessary that the person who sent you, if the email is coming from this address, is not sent it to you. There are signatures behind each email, so you'll find that the email actually came from a different source, but it was signed by the email that you see as if it's coming from that. I demonstrated this within the email, so it's a quick drop down from the address bar for you to see exactly who the sender of the email is. The rest is just curiosity. Make sure if it's asking you to take any sort of action, pause before you take the action. The grammatic errors, like we've learned today, AI is able to basically, with AI, those things don't count anymore. So in a nutshell, those are the key things that you can look out for. And then also hover around the link, because once you hover around the link, you can always know once you hover around, there's going to be a brief description of where that particular link is going to take you to before you actually click on it. So if you realize that the link at the end of the description at the end, once you hover, the description at the end is not something that you're familiar with or has no relation to the email, then do not click the link. Thank you, Geraldine. I hope I've responded to the questions.
Yes, I'm seeing we have 5 minutes to the end of our session, but I'm going to pick up 3 more questions, and then I will ask Johnson to stay online and then type the responses to the remaining questions. So someone asked about what is multi-factor authentication, maybe throwing more light on that. And then the other question would be, is it recommended to use apps like Microsoft Authenticator to protect unauthorized access to email? That's also the second question. Maybe first answer those 2 questions.
Okay, yes. So multi-factor authentication is basically in simple terms is, you know how systems you can authenticate through systems. So multi-factor is you're adding another factor beyond just one. For credential, basically a system can have for authorization or protection, you could have a password as your gateway into a system. Now, when you bring in multi-factor authentication, that means you're adding another layer beyond the password. So, for instance, if I have a system that let me use I think our banks have really tried to bring this up. If you're logging into, for instance, your bank app, before you even make a transaction, the first thing is you put your password, then they send you an OTP. So the OTP that comes to your phone as an SMS is what you call is a typical example of a multi-factor authentication. So beyond the password, there's another code that is sent to you, which keeps changing, and in that code, you have to put that code into the system now to be able to access it. So in a nutshell, it's just a second layer of authentication. Some people even do up to 3 different. Someone will come, you receive an SMS code. At the end of the day, there's also a security question. So people put different layers of protection. That is just the simplest example I can give it without technically defining what it is. Then the second question is around the apps. Yes, the Microsoft Authenticator. There are a bunch of authenticator apps that you can use. Microsoft is a good one. Google is a good one. I would recommend those two. I don't know so much about the others, but even people have developed their own within their own systems. They have developed their own authenticator apps. I think even within government, we have our own app that we use for our email that does the second authentication. So as long as it's a different level of authentication, it should work. So a MS Authenticator is something I can recommend.
Okay. You can also break the myth about cookies. Just throw light on this. The question is, sometimes while I'm browsing, I get things like accept cookies, and sometimes it's the only option for me to proceed with the search. Could search also be another form of hacking?
Yes, so cookies would not really, it's not another form of hacking, but cookies work, expose your data a lot or your information within the sites. So cookies, usually websites ask you to accept cookies. And in so doing, you're accepting that the website can basically pick information around your browsing history, whatever you're saving on your browser, the websites you've been visiting, and sometimes some cookie links have been able to expose some of our passwords. So especially when you connect to websites that are not secure. Secure websites are the ones that have the HTTPS extension on the website. So if you're accessing websites that are not secure, usually they have they keep you, they save you, they cache your password somewhere. Now the cookies expose this information. So it may not be a form of hacking, but it's a form of information exposure, because if you access my website, I'm a hacker and I'm picking all this information, I know what the sites you're going to, I know what you're interested in, then possibly I could even get a password exposure from that particular site. So, but however, there are ways that you can limit because of the data protection and privacy law these days. Some really compliant websites have put basically, whereas they want cookies for marketing and information on you to be able to get back to you, they have also put exceptions. So I would, if you just for the benefit of the people on the call, Jared, then you just allow me to demo one last thing for them.
Okay, please proceed.
The last
it's okay.
email. So I'll just give me a second. Do you need a quick site that basically has that prompt? I wanted to get one, but once I have a failing. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So for the benefit of the person who asked the question, this is a Lenovo website. I chose Lenovo because they do some sales, so they might want some information from the person who visits their website. So once I open this site, the first thing that comes in is they even tell you what exactly they use the cookies for to enhance your experience. But some people hide these things. So you can choose to accept them, but you can also, I would empower you to go into cookie settings, or you can also just choose no thanks. Now, this is the website that is compliant to the privacy law, where they have to tell you exactly what they are doing. Some of the other websites do not do this. So if you're visiting a website that doesn't do this, then just be careful on what you put on that website. It could be sold to someone. Okay. So when you go into cookie settings, you can be able to basically disable all these things that you don't want them to do. For instance, advertising. Advertising now if I clicked on this, they have access to all the other websites that I'm actually accessing, so they can advertise products that are related to what I want. For instance, if I want a phone, if Memo is also selling phones, they'll be able to now send me emails. If it's analytics, analytics also gives them. But of course, there's a bunch of legal jargons hidden around these terms and conditions that we don't take time to read. So I would just encourage everyone to go ahead and customize exactly what you want them to do. So for the essentials, essentials are okay, but also read exactly what they're picking within the essentials. So I think that, in a nutshell, explains what cookies are and how best we can minimize our exposure while dealing with these websites.
Okay, thank you so much, Johnson, for the responses to the questions raised. But I would also kindly ask you to stay on and then just type responses to the other questions. So we have come to the end of our webinar. I want to thank Johnson so much for that insightful and practical session. I believe today we are going to leave more alert and better equipped to recognize and respond to phishing and social engineering attempts. We are also reminded that cybersecurity truly begins with awareness, and that just a single careless click can expose us, not just your personal information, but also the organization you work for. So the key takeaway is clear: think before you click. And also remember the 3 habits that Johnson mentioned: URL detective, use the trust but verify rule, and then build your digital moat. To all our participants, thank you for taking time to join this afternoon and for your active engagement throughout the session. Your participation really shows your commitment to staying safe online and supporting a more secure digital Uganda. Just for those who join in a bit late, this webinar was brought to you under the Better Guard campaign by the National IT Authority and the Personal Data Protection Office. This is part of our ongoing efforts to promote cybersecurity awareness and safe digital practices. So with that, I wish you a lovely weekend. And please remember, stay alert, stay informed, and always Better Guard. Thank you.